Hello and welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Checkered with Charlie and Kathleen. I am Charlie Kimball, 10-time Indy 500 starter. I feel like that's appropriate because we're recapping the 109th running of the Indianapolis 500-mile race, and I am joined by my lovely wife and translator extraordinaire, Kathleen.
Hey, babe.
How's it going?
Good. This is pretty delayed because we were in Indianapolis for the race. And then Monday we hung out and saw some friends, flew back Tuesday, and now it's Wednesday. And it's Wednesday night, and we're finally getting to this because when you miss 5 days of work and then have to come back, the work doesn't just stop happening.
No.
You just have to do all the work that needed to happen while you were gone.
Yeah, and, with Monday being a holiday, it was like 4 days of work. But the beauty of owning your own business is you get to choose which 7 days of the week you work.
Sure.
Plus, our kids missed us, so we've been trying to spend a little bit of extra time with them.
Well, quality time with them.
Quality time with them, for sure.
But they're asleep, so we can do this now.
They are asleep. And I tell you, I am very jealous. I am ready to be asleep.
I'm so tired. I woke up with the biggest May hangover this morning.
Just totally out of energy.
Just totally
burned out.
Out of energy, burnt out. Thank you for getting our kids ready and taking them to school so that I could veg out in bed doom scrolling.
Well, it was a big activity weekend for us. I went out a day early to the Midwest. I had a work event all day in Bloomington, Indiana on Thursday. Got done with that about 8 o'clock at night, drove up to Indianapolis, picked you up from the airport that night, late that night. You said your flight was almost exclusively race fans.
Oh, yeah, lots of race fans. There was one guy who had a McLaren hat on, a Pageantry Award jersey. The background of his phone, like his lock screen, was the IMS Wheel and Wings. And I don't know where he got them, but they were orange shoes with checkered flag things at the back.
That's pretty impressive.
And he had a group of probably 10 people with him, all headed to the race together.
Well, on my flight out from LA would have been Wednesday, the direct flight, it was full of Murat Shriners that were headed to drive the cars in the parade. And they were always my favorite part of the parade was the Shriners driving those little cars around. I should probably say second favorite part after seeing my mother in the crowd and all of my friends in the audience.
Well, you just really love any type of non-standard motorized vehicle.
that is shockingly accurate. For as tired as we are, that is shockingly accurate.
So the little cars they ride on, you love those. You love excavators and tractors and planes and anything that's not a four-wheeled sedan you like.
Yeah, I do. So it was fun. It was fun seeing everyone's excitement, getting on the plane, getting off the plane. It was very almost emotional for me walking off the plane and walking into the terminal and seeing all of the activations, seeing the big Thunderbird plane spray photo on the glass, the cars, the merchandise tents, even the side of the moving sidewalks in an Indianapolis International Airport terminal had Indianapolis 500 branding on it, all colored like the logo from this year.
It was very cool.
So then after picking Kathleen up late Thursday night, Friday morning, we headed to the track for Carb Day.
Yes.
And
I want to thank our lovely hosts for the weekend, our good friends, the Andersons. Thank you for having us all weekend.
Yeah, they put up with us coming and going early and late. Although they have a couple teenage kids, so I feel like they're more used to that now than they were when we lived there. But I thought traffic out to Carb Day would be the biggest issue, and it was slow.
It wasn't slow until we got to one block until the bridge on 16th Street.
Yeah, so probably a good half a mile east of the racetrack. And I knew it was coming. And they started a couple of years ago. On race weekend, any car that's going to the infield to park with a parking pass, anything like that, they do a full safety inspection with sniffing dogs, bomb sniffing dogs. And I think they do about 9 cars at a time. So I knew to stay left, moved that. We had to go pick up our credentials. Huge thanks to IndyCar marketing for getting us credentials and getting us to the track. We then went and parked at our high school friends' parents' place that they bought in Speedway after towing their camper out and camping at the race for years and years and years.
And I think this is such a story about the power of the Speedway. So they drove their camper out for Charlie's first 500 in 2010.
2011.
2011, yeah, sorry, 2011. And they loved it. They parked in lot 6 and found a whole community there. And then the house of the people who kind of did the ice and ran lot 6 a little bit, kind of the unofficial hosts, were selling. They had been back to the 500 every year since that time. And Tina and Craig bought the house. And now they're the unofficial hosts of lot 6. They split their time between Indianapolis and California. And they love it. They live for it. Like, they love it. And I mean, it's just, there's so many stories like that around the Speedway. And I can't think of anything else that's like that.
It's the greatest piece of that is a facility that big with that much pull on that many people. There's nothing else like it in the world. And I realize we're biased as race fans and race drivers, and we love that place. We love that city. Yeah, we're big fans of the city and Speedway. So we had a great time at Carb Day and walked in. We got lots of steps in this year.
Yeah, I think I did 6 miles on Carb Day.
Oh, that's not too bad.
It actually wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
So,
and got to see a lot of people. Unfortunately, while practice was still going on, got to catch up with our friend Alexander Rossi after his water pump failed. Again, I'm going to pitch their podcast. They did a pretty good recap of the weekend. So Off Track with Hinch and Rossi. They talk a little bit about Carb Day. We walked around, saw everyone, caught up with a lot of friends. We were aware there was a Oscar Mayer Wienermobile race going on.
But we didn't see it. We
didn't see it
there at that time.
And then we watched the pit stop competition from business partners suite out in turn 2. Had a wonderful day. And then got out of there at a reasonable hour because I went and worked the USF races Friday night out at Lucas Oil Raceway. And they had some rain to dodge on Thursday for practice and qualifying. But Friday, they had a big Silver Crown race and then a USF 2000 race and a USF Pro race. And those USF Pro cars around that short little Lucas Oil Raceway looked like Indy Next cars or even Indy cars around Iowa.
Really?
I mean, they were fast. They were running around the top. Good cars went forward. Bad cars definitely went backwards. And it was a good short track race. Any car that could run multiple lanes throughout the course of the night was able to make passes because they weren't stuck in one spot. Absolutely. I mean, it's good short track racing. So officiated that.
Yep. I went to go see an old neighbor of ours that lived across the street, and I walk down the street and I hear kids playing, and I turn the corner and our old neighbors, the Chastains, had all of our old street over with all the kids that our kids played with, and all the moms were there, and it was just like, it was a perfect Indiana evening.
Yeah, a little cold. All weekend was a little chilly in Indianapolis. It felt like one of the cooler month of Mays, and I think that played into our first storyline. We had a great Saturday. Got to join an Indy 500 driver's family dinner to celebrate his rookie year, which was awesome to be a part of.
I cannot for the life of me remember what we did earlier in the day.
You
Oh, we went to Pageantry with
Yeah, with a bunch
yeah.
of friends.
Yeah.
So we went to lunch, and then we caught up with a really good friend, incredible photographer Chris Bucher, and spent some time with him chatting. And I know he listens to the podcast, so big shout out to him. It was really good, and
lovely wife,
and his often frustrating cat Albert. Remember our trivia team name used to be Dang It Albert, because in the middle of trivia while we were doing it virtually during COVID, Albert would like jump on top of the stove and turn the gas on, and they just yell, "Dang it, Albert!" and I have to go turn the gas on.
They didn't use dang.
I was trying to keep my editing.
Okay, so we can talk about all the fun we had all weekend.
But race day was awesome. I was very honored to be asked by Nathan Brown to co-host their Pit Pass Live pre-Indy 500 show from Gasoline Alley, which meant I got a chance to talk to Connor Daly, Kyle Larson, Tony Kanaan, and Doug Boles.
I saw Mike Shank
as well. Yeah, Mike's a great interview. Surprisingly a good interview.
Why is that surprising?
I don't know why I said surprising, but it caught me off guard. How
I always find him very gregarious.
Yeah, great conversationalist. Yeah. Doug Boles is the epitome of a promoter.
He is the best mascot for that place.
And I know his role is split a little, but his focus is not. When it needs to be on the Speedway, it's on the Speedway. And when it needs to be on IndyCar, it's on IndyCar. Yeah. So,
I didn't get to see him this weekend, so I'm glad you did.
Well, I think it's because he was too busy walking up and down Georgetown and going to the Coke Lot Saturday night. And he did say he got about an hour of sleep overnight, which is rare, he said. But he'd had some challenges over the course of the month of May. And I think they navigated it really well. Again, sold out every reserved seat at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
There were Carb day, so many people. Race day, so many people. And so I biked there with friends, and
I biked there earlier.
You biked there earlier, and you were the smart one, and you took the new trail.
Yeah, the B&O trail. B&O trail into Speedway. Great access from downtown Michigan. B&O straight into Speedway.
Usually, historically, they'd close 10th Street to regular traffic. So like there's 2 lanes going each way, and one half of the lane is typically like police escorts, and the other one they leave for bikes. Well, I think because they opened the B&O trail, they didn't do that. So by the time we got I don't know what street it was, probably like half a mile from the track, half a mile from 10th and Polko, like it was stopped.
With car traffic,
bike traffic, everything all intermingled. There's police escorts trying to get through with buses. It was chaos. You definitely came the right way.
Which is rare because I'm usually only good on a closed circuit where I can't get lost.
Yeah, true. So our friends went to Daredevil Brewery and had a beer before they walked in, because I really wanted to go and meet you down in pit lane and see
everybody.
Pit lane on race day is magical.
Yeah.
So I pull over on Polko and I stop and I bike valet. But as I pull over on Polko, because you kind of the tunnel entrance is right there. The line to get in from the main tunnel entrance was all the way, for as long as I could see, all the way to 16th and Georgetown.
And so for reference, that's from the middle of the short chute all the way past turn 1.
So I texted you and I said, I don't know if I'm going to make it before this race starts. and
that was about 2 hours before.
It was 10 o'clock.
Yeah, 2.5 hours then.
So I looked and I could see the turn 2 entrance didn't look bad. So I kind of walked that way. It took me 3 minutes to walk in on the turn 2 entrance. That long story short, the way they get 350,000 people in and out of that place is incredible. incredible.
Yes.
I did not, other than like that long, I mean, other than the long train of people trying to get in underneath the main entrance at the tunnel, I don't think there could have been too much of a wait anywhere. And I think those people just maybe didn't know where else to go.
Yeah, and right there is where a bunch of the shuttle buses from downtown, shuttle buses from the airport, shuttle buses from the north side.
So people
all
that maybe
drop
aren't
off.
as
familiar and don't have.
Yeah.
And I think one of the greatest things about a racetrack that houses 350,000 people, any sports venue that holds 350,000 people, and it's the only one in the middle of a very urban city neighborhoods, is that everyone has their back way, quote unquote, back way, and they all park at the same house. And we heard so many stories about, oh yeah, we always parked at this house. And as soon as we'd get there at 7 a.m, and some of us would fall back asleep, and we'd wake up and all the Indiana moms and grandmas had biscuits and gravy and coffee and bacon cooking. And it was a full potluck breakfast.
On Carb Day, that whole like grill setup trailer.
There was a whole trailer. It had 2 smokers,
it had
a barbecue.
Blackstone.
Yep, a griddle. It had like 2 ice chests, a water cooler.
It had a condiment station.
Yeah, unbelievable. And
incredible.
It had extendable awnings, so if it was wet, to keep the cooking dry. Unbelievable. Talk about travel grill goals.
Yeah.
But
we get there. Yeah.
One of the cool people, we saw a lot of great people and a lot of friends, a lot of work colleagues, just a lot of people that we have gotten to know so well after 15 years in this sport. But I ran into and connected with an aerodynamicist who I met. He had just moved from Spain directly out of college to England. And I think he might have been at Williams at the time, alongside my friend Kate Reed, who was an aerodynamicist at Williams at the time. But Pedro and I and my sister and a whole group of engineers in Formula One, when I was racing in England, living in England, racing in Europe, all hung out and got to be friends. Because again, racing schedule is kind of odd. You work weekends and sometimes you get a Monday off.
Yeah.
So we would connect and go out for lunches and dinners and stuff on Monday nights. Pedro is now the aerodynamicist for the IndyCar program for McLaren. So he spent the month of May sitting behind my old engineer, Kate Gunlock, and all the engineers in the McLaren office. And so we connected and chatted and just caught up after 20 years.
Yeah.
19 years, a long time. And it was so good to just, that's one of the things, it was good to connect. And that's one of the things about racing is it builds deep relationships under stress and atypical schedules and atypical lifestyles.
It's traveling circus, right?
Yep.
The traveling circus of, you have weird days off, so you end up spending weird time with people, but also when you've got 10 minutes somewhere and you catch up, you only have that 10 minutes, so you don't have time to talk about stuff that doesn't matter. Right. So you end up talking about stuff that matters. And I don't know. I don't know what it is about racing that there are all these amazing, genuine friendships that we treasure so much.
Well, it's fantastic. And
we're almost 20 minutes in and we haven't talked about racing at all.
And there's 500 miles to cover. So we should get to it. The pageantry, unbelievable. Always is.
We watched from turn 2. We had...
do you want to talk about Back Home Again?
I was going to.
Okay. I was just didn't want to let you off the hook because I did it too, just not full blown
ugly cry.
Not full blown ugly cry, no.
So I know Back Home Again in Indiana's coming. I cry. I get emotional when I hear it, and it's not the 500 and there's not all the pageantry about it because we've talked about it so much. We love Indiana. We miss it. We cherish it. It was such a beautiful part of our life for so long. And then he starts singing, and I we're on the we're the outside of the suite in turn 2. And I just start full on bawling. These strangers I've never met before, I am just bawling. And it was embarrassing, but also, you know what? Real emotion like that should be showed.
Full on ugly cry.
And then
the coolest addition.
Yes. After a slight rain delay.
Yeah, so slight rain delay, drivers get in cars, and all of the people that were on the balcony of the suite getting ready to watch the race were like, okay, they're going to start engines. And I look and I'm like, it's still misting. Race control's not going to tell them to fire up. And then I watch, and where we were sitting was right where the track drying team, what's evolved out of the Air Titans, were deployed out of the sort of road course turn 10 area. And I was like, we got 20 minutes. So I went inside, got some lunch. Everyone's like, why are you leaving? I was like, we got plenty of time. And so drivers had to sit in their cars and wait for the call to start engines. I was updating Twitter, so I knew kind of what was happening and what the timeline was. And then as we got close, we could see over the grandstands to the exit, or sort of behind turn 1, above the admin building, above the roundabout and Speedway, were a couple military helicopters.
Yeah, they were flying around, and I was like, what is going on?
We'd had the flyover. Yeah. Jets came by the second time, full afterburner. I could swear I could feel the heat off the burners.
It was so cool. We could see the fire off the end of it. It was so cool. And then, the parade, they line up 11 rows of 3. And then these Blackhawk helicopters just come out of nowhere. They were so low.
Yeah, and as the pace car accelerates, so the edict typically from race control, I think lap 1 is 70 miles an hour speed, and then 80, 90, and 100. And they had a great camera inside the pace car with Michael Strahan driving the pace car. And you could see.
Did you do any training? Did you
every year they have to. It's part of the commitment of being pace car drivers. You spend 2 or 3 hours with Sarah Fisher, who's the standard pace car driver, learning the car, getting comfortable.
Yeah.
And so the observer in the passenger seat, every time coming across the yard of bricks, you could tell him, you could see him waving his hand up, like faster, faster, faster. But the first lap, as a driver, you maintain the 11 rows of 3, and it is a full parade lap. And then after that, lap 2 and 3, you spread out to single file. The pace car accelerates a little bit to string everyone out, warm your tires. Again, cold day, low 60s cloud cover. It had sprinkled, so the track temp never got above 70 or 80 in the race. Really cool all day. And then lap 4, typically coming out of turn 2, you pair up in this lineup in your 11 rows of 3 with the pacing like you had down the front straight when they were gridded, and you come around and punch off out of 4. We'd already had the rain. We had the unbelievable pacing of the Blackhawk helicopters for that first parade lap.
It did not look safe, I will say. But obviously these Blackhawk helicopters, this is not a war zone. So, except for the snake pit.
Which is its own brand of war zone.
So, the Blackhawk helicopters which was so, I loved it. I'm not even a appreciating non-standard motor vehicles type person, and I appreciated it.
I really appreciated it. But coming across the yard of bricks, coming into turn 1 with 1 to go, lights out on the pace car.
Or Scotty Mac.
Scott McLaughlin trying to warm up his rear tires. Got a little aggressive, cold tires, spun, hit the wall, knocked the left front off, day done before the green flag.
I want to talk a little bit about his emotion and how raw it was. But first, I'm hoping you can describe to me, because it seems to me like that would be really easy to do.
Especially with cold track, yes.
It's one person in a friend or a person in the suite was like, is he going to get fired for that? And I was like, no, he's not going to get fired for that. mean, I don't.
I hope
Lots of people at Penske got fired this week, but I don't. I think Scott McLaughlin's seat is safe.
Based on that incident, yeah. Look, the pole sitter spun out in a prior year when it was cold. I can't remember. It might have been Scott Goodyear. Don't quote me on that. But it happens. Cold track, cold day. You're doing everything you can. You have spent 3 weeks, 2 weeks at this track, and it's for this moment. Look, I always felt like I had a really good handle and control of my adrenaline and therefore its effect on my blood glucose levels while I was driving. The Indy 500 was one where the adrenaline always spiked at the start of the race.
Yeah, we actually ended up, after a year, like 3 or 4, ended up changing what you ate the morning of the race.
Yeah.
Because we were like,
we
why?
know it's coming based on the adrenaline. So when you're amped up like that, the track's cold, you're doing everything you can to warm it up. The car is so crooked and set up to turn left for 500 miles. You've got 800 left turns, 200 laps. All it takes is just a little. And the other thing is, at that point, you're saving fuel, right? You're not running full rich, full boost. And the throttle engine mapping, it's not really important. So the engineers don't spend a lot of time on it. So a lot of times the throttle connection doesn't have to be as smooth as it is in a race map. There are times you'll go nothing, 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 everything.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense to what happened.
And I think that combined with cold track, cold tires, adrenaline, aggressive warming, and he just got it a little wrong. And he got out of the car and just like before he had stopped, you could see the tears in his eyes. Right? You could see just the raw emotion. And I want to give him a huge amount of credit. He never shied away from it. He never.
No.
And he stood
up. Didn't blame anyone else.
And he stood up at the banquet.
Yeah.
And owned it and talked about it. And when Alan Bestwick put, or the IMS Productions team put a photo of him walking out through Gasoline Alley to driver introductions with his wife Carly and his daughter, you could see the peace and calm and smile come across his face. Mm-hmm. And he said, yeah, whatever happened on the racetrack, that, and he points to the picture and says, that's what matters. That's my world. And he said, I was tore up till I got back to the bus and was with my wife and daughter, and my daughter was sleeping. And I knew in that moment the world was not going to end today.
Yeah.
And I think it is easy for people on the outside to judge and throw judgment around. And we as drivers are all competitive. We're all pushing every way we can. Teams are pushing, mechanics are pushing, engineers are pushing. And there are very few sports in the world that when it goes as wrong as it can, the first thing that happens after the doctors say, you're okay, is you go on live national television and someone says, tell me about the worst moment of your day.
Yeah.
It's wild.
It's torture is what it is.
But it's part of the job, and we're really good at it.
Yes. And then while that was happening, we saw smoke coming out of Scott Dixon's
left rear. And in fact, we saw flames out of the left rear. So what I imagine happened was Scott was, again, back to cold temperatures, utilizing the brakes to heat the tires. So with the carbon brakes, they run really hot. And the more you drag them, the more friction it creates, the more temperature, like thousands of degrees, 1,000 degrees probably. And that heat soaks into the wheel, heats the air in or the nitrogen inside the tire, gets it to pressure, and then that permeates all the way out to the carcass of the tire and to the rubber tread.
I never thought about warming your tires like that. I always heard them say get the brakes up to temp.
And on a road course,
stopping, not also heating the tires from the inside out.
Yep, that's part of it.
Cool.
I don't know if Scott overdid it or because it then went yellow to clean up the McLaughlin crash, he didn't get the airflow to then cool the brakes back down, or if there was a weakness in the system that heat then smoked it. They ended up changing under one of the yellow flags. I think it was the lap 19 yellow. They changed a left rear brake caliper to make sure he could run all day.
That's some Daytona 24-hour stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like when Audi changed like the whole gearbox and rear clip of the car in like 9 minutes under yellow at Le Mans.
For people that don't know, changing the rear caliper of the car brake is not standard.
No, you change tires, you fill it with fuel, and you adjust wings in pit lane.
But I think Scott ended up like 19th?
20th, running 3 laps down.
In 3 laps down because there was so much attrition in this race.
Yep. It's like the first time since 2011 that there were only 12 cars on the lead lap at the end. The 12 cars that finished on the lead lap.
Yeah, you didn't finish on the lead lap because you got passed right before that.
Right, because otherwise I would run out of fuel.
And you were 13th.
And I finished 13th. Now, there were 3 cars that completed all 200 laps that were moved to the back of the classification.
Yes.
So technical infringements, but that we finally get started, right? The race gets started technically under yellow, but because they hadn't done the 3 wide start, they go 3 wide on lap 4, down into turn 1, boom, immediately yellow. Marco tried to save that. He did. That slide for life was not his month. No. He struggled.
His baby
mightily. Yeah. I don't know that I saw said baby. Oh. But cute.
Very cute.
Yeah.
Very cute. Looks a lot like Billy's wife.
Oh, that's a good thing. Yeah. It's a very good thing, actually.
That's not a dig at Marco. That's like just...
it's a little dig at Marco.
A friendly dig.
A friendly dig, yes. So then we ran for about 19 laps. Now, the yellow on 19 was for moisture again. We had sprinkling, and where we were in turn 2 was dry, but again, it's such a massive racetrack. Down in turn 3, it was sprinkling. Observer called it in. Go yellow to cycle.
Whenever there's any moisture on the track, it's yellow because it's just not safe.
Correct.
If there's moisture on an oval. So that is when we first had the first split of strategies.
Mm-hmm.
So one, we have not rewatched the race. We watched the pre-race.
Yep. Which was great.
Which was
great coverage by Fox. Really good job.
Amazing.
James, Townsend, Will. Awesome jobs. Kevin Lee
was great.
Tony Stewart did an awesome job.
So really, really
great
good.
Vignettes, a lot of prep work, a lot of these little pieces. I also want to shout out my former, when I was on the Indy Next broadcast, the former pit reporter, Georgia Henneberry, has done an incredible job all month long.
Yep.
She had a baby over the winter. It was real cute too.
Real cute.
And she has just really grown into this role and is doing great.
Yeah.
Kevin Lee, always a professional.
Always.
Jamie Little, so great to have her back.
So great to have her back in it. And she looked really comfortable and happy to be back.
Yeah. So with the yellow on 19, they didn't open the pit lane because they weren't sure if they were going to go red or if they were what they were doing.
Yeah.
Open the pit lane on lap 24.
And for reference, a full fuel stint
under green
is like 32 laps.
Yep.
And we had 5 or 6 laps of yellow at that point.
7.
Oh,
7.
Yes.
7 to start. So 1 through 3, 5 through 8. And then it went yellow on 19 and they opened pit lane on 24.
Okay. So that's going to give you 2 more laps per that yellow. So that's going to give you 14 extra laps.
Yeah. Well, so if you figure it, roughly every 2 laps of yellow is about a lap of green of fuel.
Okay.
So if there's, say, 6 laps of yellow, you ought to be able to go 35 laps instead of 32.
Yeah. So at 19 laps, they open the pits at 24. So you had about 40 laps worth of fuel.
Correct. So it was about a half a tank. our metric historically was always, you're not going to drive an open pit lane under yellow at lap 40 or at half tanks, at half tanks. Like anything after half tanks, you're going to come and take that.
So it really was a decision point in the race. Are you going to take the pit stop or are you not?
Yep.
And that is kind of the splitting of strategies we saw.
Yep. And again, you strategically, you work back from the finish.
Yes.
Because it's the last lap that matters the most. And you say, okay, if we stop now, that leaves us with half a stint at the end. But if we go from here, and a pit stop under green is just under a full lap.
Yes.
So
it's like
a lap's 40 seconds and you lose 38 or 37 seconds.
Yeah.
But it means that
with a flawless pit stop.
With a clean stop, yes. Not flawless, but clean. It means that when you come out, you are just in front of the leaders on the lead lap.
Yes.
And this plays into the last stint as well. But you essentially are right at the tail end of the lead lap. If you stay in front of them and a yellow comes out, you catch up and pack up to the back of the field. Pit's open. They all pit. You cycle to the front, having already done, quote unquote, that stop.
Yes.
But if you have to make another stop or you can't stay in front of the leaders, you put yourself in Townsend Bell's favorite danger zone and end up quite a ways back.
Yeah.
On that. You end up essentially losing all that track position. Yeah. So cars that didn't stop, the 3 Carpenter cars.
Yeah.
Rahal cars split strategy with the 30 car staying out. The 20.
I hope the Carpenter cars got some cool photos of those 3 cars leading, because that had to be pretty cool.
Yeah. And so the 24 car of Jack Harvey stayed out. The 18 car of Renus VK stayed out. 15 car Graham Rahal. And then Takuma Sato was the leader at that point. He had a great car out front. And he was sort of leading that alternate strategy. It came out when it went green, was 8th. By the time they came around the next time, it moved up to 6th. He was on a charge.
Yeah. Schwartzman had a bad stop. We had a conversation with one of his crew guys who was not expecting to have really good stops.
They were concerned about the experience.
They're a young team, so they didn't have the pit stop experience they needed to keep Schwartzman up front.
So then we get into a long green cycle.
Yeah.
Right? Couple of pit stops. The cars that didn't stop on lap 20 come in on lap 43, 44.
Yeah.
So with all that yellow, that's about a right calculation from what we said. The 20 car, the 21, the 30, the 33. Now, as they cycle through, the 20 and 21 car and the 24 car.
So that's 20 is Rossi, 21 is Rasmussen, 24 is Harvey.
Correct. Yeah. And the 30 car of, I want to say that's Louis Foster. No, Foster's the 45.
Devlin is
30. That's right. Devlin was really quick all day long. Stayed in front of the leaders.
Yeah.
And it's not 17. So then everyone sort of cycled through. The 33 car and the 18 car, the 15 car, all a lap down at this point. So they are
3. So that's Ed.
Yep. 18 is Renus VK. 15 is Graham Rahal. And Kalamila made another stop at that point and went a lap down.
Yeah.
He stopped, I believe he stopped under the first one. Yeah, he did. So he stopped on 24. I don't know if he got a bad set of tires, but he also stopped on 54. Yeah. The leaders then stop on 61, and they all cycle. The cars that were behind all cycle to the front.
Yeah. So basically 2 strategies, and at this point we don't know which one is going to be successful. But then the next yellow.
I do want to point out that with that green flag stop, Takuma Sato, which would be a one-off crew, pitted from the lead and came back out in the lead ahead of the 30 and the 20.
Oh, that's great. But then later on, he had a bad pit stop, and
he did.
So,
and as he said in his speech at the banquet, he overshot his box by 6 feet. He asked ChatGPT to calculate that for him because he didn't want to do the math. And he said it was 7/100ths of a second. He should have started braking early. So 6 feet at 60 miles an hour is 7/100ths of a second, which is pretty small.
Yeah. So I think pit lane is something we should talk about because there was a lot of chaos at pit lane. There were a lot of yellow flag pit stops, which are stressful. There were a lot of green flag pit stops where a lot of cars came in on the same lap. One is Renus came in. I guess he had a brake failure.
He had a rear brake failure or a front brake failure. So he got on the pedal. All he had was rear brakes.
So he came into pit lane going upwards of 100 miles an hour.
Yep.
And
when he got on the brakes, locked the rears,
spun, and hit no one.
Hit the pit wall.
Hit no one.
Hit no one, and pulled into his box with a broken car. It was very lucky. It was very lucky.
That could have been so much worse for a lot of people in pit lane.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone was laid out.
No one was laid out. It's the way, the cycle in which he came in, because he was done on a little further back.
Yeah. It's those details. I don't know if they really like.
But then but Rossi had a failure, and it was so Rossi had a mechanical issue, and
there was smoke coming out of the back of his car.
Yeah, he was barbecuing his gearbox.
Yeah, they said his gearbox got hot, and then when he got into pit lane,
he had a fueling failure.
So something caught on fire.
Yeah. So what was happening there? They were coming in and going to diagnose what had gone wrong or what was going wrong at the back of the car.
Yeah.
He pulls in. Part of that is typically if it's a problem at the rear of the car, you change front tires, you fuel the car, right? Because then if the problem is just, I don't know, there's a piece of plastic stuck on the wishbone or something, you take it off and away you go. They pulled the rear tires off. The fueler fueled. Now, with Indy cars, I want to say it's about a 6-inch or a 5-inch diameter hose that fills with fuel. Now, when you're filling that fast, you have to let the air out. So there is a vent line that comes off out of the Buckeye.
And that's the thing you fill the fuel in.
Yep.
That was the thing that Felix Rosenquist had a speaker that went in.
Right? Because it was sponsored by Creed. Yep. Yeah. He felt like it took him higher. And so as you choke on your water, I had perfect comedic timing. So that vent line, fuelers are trained, you fill that, and it will bubble with fuel for a little bit because it's fairly disruptive pouring that 18.5 gallons in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And you wait till there's a full clear flow. Well, the fueler noticed that it was clear. And as he pulled the fuel nozzle and the fuel probe out, the vent line almost looked like it failed or came detached. So it was venting onto the side of the car. He steps back, puts the fuel nozzle down. It's still leaking fuel, picks up the fire extinguisher, and then the fuel obviously hits the hot exhaust and ignites.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we don't run methanol anymore that is an invisible flame. You can actually see the fire with the Shell renewable fuel. So then he catches fire as the fueler because it splashed on him. He's spraying. Whoever was looking at the gearbox under the car is back out.
Rossi gets out.
Rossi gets out and is trying to look cooler than Ryan Hunter-Reay, whose car burned to the ground on Friday at Carb Day, and is very frustrated because he knew he had a really good race car. Everyone was okay.
Thank gosh.
Yep. We texted Heather Carpenter Fueler was good. Everyone was good.
Did you know that the fueler is married to Pat Caporelli, or at least that's what I thought? I thought I saw that on Facebook. I'll have to check.
Well, I don't know.
I'll have to check that. Okay.
Anyways.
But, yeah. So, and then another chaotic moment in pit lane. First, I'm glad everyone's okay. That fire can be so scary, but that's why they wear fireproof suits. So if they're in that situation, they can withstand a little bit of fire and be fine.
Yep.
And that's why you wear fireproof socks. And that's why you wear fireproof
And that's why every pit box in pit lane has multiple fire extinguishers. And there are fire crew members that are not associated with the race team standing by at all times.
And there's buckets of water, like literally like 55-gallon drums of water just right there in the pit box as needed.
Yep.
Again,
everyone's okay.
Safety of IndyCar is astounding.
Yes.
So then the other thing that happened in pit lane, which I think this was probably the scariest incident
for me,
was, you know, Charlie's talked a lot about how these race cars don't like to go right. They only like to turn left. So Robert Schwartzman, who is, to no fault of his own, inexperienced in pit stopping at this situation, comes in, takes out 3 of his guys. One of them, I think, ended up at the hospital. I still haven't heard how he's doing, but his day was done then too. I don't know exactly. He broke something on the car. I don't know what. But
well, because he said he locked up the fronts coming into the box, and because the angle of the car was pointed at the pit wall, hit the pit wall, and I don't know if it broke the steering rack or the A-arm or the track rod or whatever. And that was, I believe that was on the lap 87 yellow when they were cleaning up Venus VK's car. Because he crashed in pit lane, they went yellow because there was contact. They had to go check him out. But because he crashed in pit lane, they couldn't open pit lane until they cleaned his car up.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty long yellow. Schwartzman has this incident and falls out of the race at that point. And they go green on lap 91. Kyle Larson in the short shoot. We talked about how aggressive he was in the short shoot on some of the recap podcasts. Grabs the downshift, spins, collects both Kiffin Simpson and Sting Ray Robb,
who took a bath.
and we mean that literally.
Yeah.
Like, not he took a bath on a business deal. Like, he slid from the exit of turn 2 down into the tire barrier that protects where the road course fencing comes in. And with all the rain Indianapolis had, it was full of water.
Gross.
He said water. It was like taking a bath in scummy lake water.
Yeah. Because we randomly ran into him at Pageantry on Monday morning.
At breakfast Monday morning as well. So everybody was okay.
It was okay.
Kyle Larson got out of the car, cleared for medical, changed, got in a helicopter, got in a jet, headed to Charlotte for his second half of what was supposed to be an 1,100-mile event. Yeah. He didn't see the checkered in either race.
I will say, where we were watching the race from that incident, we got showered in carbon fiber.
And debris, yeah.
Yeah.
Paint, carbon fiber, dirt, schmuck, all of it. And it was amazing. The AMR safety team checking on the drivers, and then as they pick up all the debris on the racetrack, we're looking through the catch fencing to make sure everyone in the suites was okay.
Yeah.
Which was awesome.
Yeah.
Those guys were great. That was a long yellow. Like 16-lap yellow to clean up that mess.
There was just debris everywhere.
Yeah, with 3 cars, massive debris.
It was a great time for people to go get another beer and get some food. And...
yeah. You could see the grandstands emptying as people headed down to get more drinks.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't know it at the time, but that would be the last yellow flag of the day.
Oh, really?
When it went green on lap 109, it was green until it went yellow checkered.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
So the last 2 pit stops were under green flag conditions. And this is when that alternate strategy in that last green flag run starts to come good.
Yeah.
Because even in that yellow after Renus's crash, the alternate strategy cars stayed on alternate strategy.
Yeah, they stayed out.
Now, I do want to give credit to Ryan Hunter-Reay. The Dryer Ryan Bold car.
He deserves all the credit.
Caught fire Friday in Carb Day.
Yep. We ran into Ryan, and he was not excited about going to the backup car.
Yep. It's their pit stop car, so it's heavier. It's kind of beat up a little bit. The car was fast as lightning on Sunday.
Yeah, and he was on the right strategy.
Yep.
He did everything right in that car.
And he stopped a good 17 laps later, so he had 17 more laps of fuel. When everyone was trying to do 34, 35, 36 laps in a stint by saving fuel and tires,
yeah,
he was going hard, and it got him up front and kept him up front. And his last pit stop, he came in on lap 160. Where is it here? He came in on lap 169 and ran out of fuel coming into the pit box. Now, these Indy cars, when you run out of fuel and the fuel pumps run dry, the engine will actually run for a little bit without fuel in the system. So it will suck all the fuel out of the system. Mm-hmm. Fuel lines, fuel rail, fuel pump. By the time you reprime that system, he was 2 laps down.
So what was that, a one-off mistake? Because we've talked so much about how one-offs...
Oh, it was 20 laps down. It was more than...
I don't think he ever restarted.
He finished... No, it was mechanical. Yeah, they ended up calling it on mechanical.
I mean, it makes sense. Why put him back out there if he's 20 laps down when he's not going for points, right?
And it may have damaged the fuel pump. It may not. When they run dry, they fail.
So is that an issue with, because we say it's so hard as a one-off to win this race, is that an issue with a one-off, not knowing how sensitive the fuel alarm is, not calculating the fuel right?
They were pushing because they wanted to have 31 laps for their last stint when everyone else was looking at 35 laps. 34 laps. So he wanted to have that extra lap of fuel to go hard. He had a car. He was fast up front. He wanted to stay up front. I think all of those factors, not being as familiar and as in the rhythm of the fuel alarm and the collector and all of those pieces, mean that it just caught him out a little bit.
There was another late race. Oh, Connor Daly was doing really, really well. Yep. And then I don't know. He said the tires were an issue.
Yeah, and that usually happens. You get this thing, and I don't know if they had a damper fail, a shock.
Yes.
What we call dampers fail. What happens with them is sometimes there's an internal component called an inerter, and it's like an inertial damper within the damper. It's like second level algorithm on how to manage the energy from the tire. Well, sometimes what happens is those will get out of sync with the wear of the tire based on just how you use the tire. And so when the tire wants to be coming up, it's pushing down. So it'll wear almost a harmonic, instead of being round, it'll look like a ripple in a pond. That'll have, almost like a loose string with lots of wobbles on it. And that translates to a really bad vibration. On the radio, he was complaining he was going to crash. And so they had to come in, put new tires on. He'd lost 3 or 4 spots at that point, and slid way back with that stop, because he was running second on lap 163. The vibration got bad, and he went to third on 164, fifth, and then pitted for tires.
Yeah.
So he never really recovered. He ended up finishing 8th. I think it was 10th on track, but 8th in the final order. And when we heard him talking to his team personnel, they said, we got a bum set of tires. Like sometimes that happens. I had one where I went out at hot pressure, and instead of a 30 lap stint, I did a 17 lap because the tires were so hot that I was going to crash and I had to come in.
Yeah. So Okay, so Ryan Hunter-Reay was leading. Like, Takuma Sato looked good. He had a pit stop issue. Ryan Hunter-Reay was looking good. He had a fuel issue.
The Alex Rossi looked really good.
And he was on the right.
Had a gearbox issue.
Had a gearbox and then a catch on fire issue, and then Connor Daly had the tire issue, and then Marcus Ericsson comes out on that last pit stop ahead
and
lets Palou by, or Palou gets by him.
Yeah, so because of the strategic splits, remember when I talked about a good, clean pit stop is not quite a lot?
Yes.
There were 2 cars at the tail end of the lead lap.
It was like Louis Foster and Devlin DeFrancesco, right?
Correct.
Oh, gosh.
And those 2 teammates it's faster and you get more efficient fuel usage if you swap positions up front. Now, the way these cars race, the first 2 in line can do that. The third car has enough of a toe that fourth can't go by him, but the air is dirty enough over the first 2 that he can't do anything with it.
He can't get past either of those 2.
And he can't get by second because second has the toe from first. First goes by, or second goes into the lead and then is pushing all this clean air.
And even though they weren't first and second on the timing sheet, they were first and second on track. They were the ones cutting through the air first.
Right.
And
so because, they were at the tail end of the lead lap. Yep. They were first and second in line.
So first and second in line are able to switch. Third, who's Palou,
is Ericsson, Palou, Malukas, and Pato. And Pato came on out of that last stop. He came on with his hair on fire, and he goes by Rosenquist. He goes by, I thought, oh boy, here we go. Here comes Pato Award for the win.
But then fifth in line, he can't do anything with it.
He got stuck.
And we have not seen the broadcast of the race yet. So I don't quite remember what happened with Ericsson. If he let Palou by, or thinking that it was going to be this swap thing that we've seen in years past, or if Palou was faster than him and got by him.
And Palou learned this lesson from Elio back in 2021 when Elio Castroneves won his 4th title at the Indianapolis 500. Alex Palou finished second.
Okay.
And Alex said he learned so much about how to win that race by losing it to Elio.
Mm.
And he applied those lessons this year. And it means he got to drink the milk with his little baby girl.
So cute.
Oh my gosh, some of the greatest photos.
Yeah.
But it meant that those drivers were all stuck.
Yeah.
There wasn't this last minute pass for the lead because they were 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th car in line, despite being 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th in the race classification. Now,
race control couldn't do anything about it.
Because the IndyCar rules are with a blue flag, which is a yield faster traffic behind you. When you're fighting to stay on the lead lap, you are allowed to fight for your position.
Because if there would have been a yellow, Palou, Marcus, that whole line of cars, Malukas would have
Otto,
been
Santino.
They would have Palou would have gotten the pace car, and Devlin and Foster would have moved to the back, and it would have been the first and second swapping spots.
Correct. There wasn't a yellow until coming out of turn 4 on the last lap.
Yeah.
Nolan Siegel, last lap through 2, gets a little low.
Well, can we keep talking?
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, because I really want to focus on that.
Yep.
So it was basically follow leader to the end, with Palou winning, and I feel for Marcus, but also you have to realize you're not in the same situation you were when you won.
Yep.
Right? You have to realize that there is somebody going to be messing up that air in front of you, and I don't know if that's a team call. I don't know if that's a spotter call, or I don't know if it's just a plain driver call by themselves to not let Palou by.
And at the end of the day,
it didn't really matter.
It didn't really matter. So in post-race tech,
yes,
the 28 car of Marcus Ericsson, the 27 car of Kyle Kirkwood were found to be outside the rule book and illegal. And they were moved to the back in 31st and 32nd because the 90 Prema car of Callum Milot also found to be out of spec and out of regulation for a different rule, and they were moved to 33rd. So,
not only did Ericsson lose second place money, he had to pay $100,000 fine.
Well, he doesn't. Yeah, the entry pays. So all three $100,000 fine each. And they will be without their team manager or strategist for each of those three cars this weekend at Detroit.
Really?
Yep. It is a team manager suspension as well. So that's a big swing in points, right? Like
IndyCar is not messing around anymore.
Yeah, I think there has been a perspective shift, and there's a lot of conversation if it's an overreaction, a reaction, a readjustment, or just to
a different line in the sand.
Yeah, and or a different person as president, right? Yeah. It's not Jay Fry anymore. It's Doug Boles.
Yeah.
And is that a different perspective? And as long as it's consistent going forward, I think the teams will have no complaints.
Yeah. Well, they have complaints. They just won't have a leg to stand on.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Because they're going to complain.
They don't have any legitimate complaints. The race did finish yellow and checkered because he was sort of 11th, 12th in line. Nolan Siegel in his rookie 500.
Yep.
Got low into.
Had done such a good job. He was on the lead lap. So the way the racetrack is, it kind of slopes. It's like a 9-degree angle.
Something like that. Yeah, okay. Or 13.
So the racetrack is angled, not super crazy.
Banked is the term.
Banked.
Thank you.
And then it flattens out at the curb.
Yep.
Right? And where we were in turn 2, I had like a direct line of sight to the apex of that turn 2. And I watched all day these cars going 215, 220 miles an hour, inches from that flat where it flattens off. Because that's where you have to hit, right? Literally inches from that flatten off.
Yeah, all the grips right down at the bottom.
Yeah. With their left front tires. They had to get that right 800 times to finish that race.
Yep.
800 times. Nolan got it right 797 times.
Yeah.
And the one time he misses, he probably missed it by an inch.
Yeah.
An inch and a half, 2 inches, bam, in the wall.
Yep. He was okay.
He was. And I want to celebrate the drivers. There cannot be a lapse in mental judgment.
Yeah.
You cannot have a brain fade at all when you are driving those cars for that long at that speed. And it is incredible. And if you don't like it, I am sorry for you because it is so entertaining and so lovely. And you're missing out on a huge joy in life.
Yep. Yeah. No notes. Agree.
Thank you.
We got to see one of the. So wrapping up, couple of points.
Yeah.
Great celebration. Obvious, pure, unadulterated joy of Alex Blow winning. Parks his car over the yard of bricks. Like, gets out.
His first oval win winning there is.
Yeah. And like the man's won everything this year except for Long Beach, where he finished second. His average finish this year, 1.1725. It's shocking. Anyways, he is doing a great job. That 10-car team, there were 3 team members, and I only remember 2 of them because I worked with them. Brian Welling and Ricky Davis, crew chief Ricky Davis, big Ricky Davis fan club over here. Won the Indy 500 with Scott Dixon in 2008. Hadn't won one since. Despite all of Chip Ganassi's wins there, hadn't won one since. And Barry Wanzer, fighting through and having some really nasty health scares the last couple of years, doing a great job on the timing stand. Alex Palou gets out of the car, stands on the aero screen,
almost falls off
a couple times, and celebrates with the crowd, jumps off, and he told his team before the start of the race, if I win this, I will meet you right here at the base of the pylon. And my favorite thing, just absolute raw emotion, a pure joy. Alex Palou is running down the front straight, taking his gloves off, throwing them over his head like he doesn't have a care in the world as he heads towards his team to celebrate. Like, Elio's got Spider-Man. Joseph climbs into the crowd. Alex Palou, I thought he was going to run 2.5 miles around the racetrack.
I did. I thought he was just.
I thought he was just going to do a lap.
I kind of did too.
It was.
I was like, well, that would have been cool too, but
it was so great. And then some of the photos, his daughter and his wife, like hanging out on the yard of bricks, kissing the yard of bricks. He puts the winner's ring on, shows it to his daughter. His daughter leans over and gives it a kiss.
Yeah.
With great photos. IndyCar photographers capture incredible moments at over 220 miles an hour, and then capture perfection of portraits in victory lane.
Yeah.
Also, I want to close with a massive, massive shout out to AJ Foyt Racing.
Yes.
David Malukas finished second. Santino Ferrucci finished fifth. They let everyone know they were there.
Yep.
And Santino has never finished outside the top 10 in 7 starts.
Yes.
At the Indy 500.
Incredible. And David Malukas just quietly, boom, 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 doing all the things right to just get himself in that right position at the end. And that is really hard to do.
Yep.
But I want to make one more point.
Yes.
To the over 7 million fans that tuned in.
Oh my gosh. I hope you enjoyed it, because it was a great race and a great broadcast.
Props to Fox, to pumping it up, to getting a lot of cross promotion between their football and baseball people. They were all there. Jeter, A-Rod, Brady,
Gronkowski. Oh God.
Gronk.
Brady getting booed by the Indianapolis crowd was kind of awesome. And did you see his tweet? He said, well, even though I'm retired, I had to get one last great drive-in Indianapolis.
And that's why he says stuff like that.
Exactly. Yeah, they leveraged all their properties. They had live broadcasts. Fox and Friends was there. They had one take or hot takes, whatever it is, were there. Gronkowski in the snake pit as the snake pit ambassador, which was hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you talk A-Rod and Jeter and Michael Strahan driving the pace car.
Yeah. So even
Jimmy Johnson.
You saw all this, right? Even if you were mildly, I can see why the ratings were up, because even if you were mildly interested in the race or not interested in the race, you see that all of these people, all these personalities that you hear talk about your favorite sports are going to be there. Are you going to tune in?
Yes.
And yes, I mean, it was a great strategy, and Fox executed it well. And
from what I heard, those Blackhawks that we raved about, that was Fox Sports CEO Eric Shank's idea to pace the field on Memorial Day weekend at the largest attended sporting event in the world, the largest non-religious collection of human beings on planet Earth each and every year, with a celebration of the military skills and military helicopter Blackhawks pacing the field at eye level for the penthouse suites.
Yes.
It was fantastic.
I want to apologize to everyone listening, because we obviously went on more than we needed to today. Or maybe we're becoming fans of that, I don't know. But thank you for tuning in if you tuned in this long. But I would like to end with your number one highlight of the weekend.
Number one highlight of the weekend. Man, that is so hard.
Can I say mine?
You go first.
Our friend Justin saying, when I mentioned that I had your helmet at the house, was like, go get it, go get it, and I'll put it on and I'll ride to the track with it. I was like, I can't let you ride to the track with it, but I can let you put it on and we'll take a picture. He said, okay, go get it. So I go get it. And you have a very narrow head. You have a small, like, circumference around your head for an adult man that's around 6 foot tall, which you and Justin have very similar body types. So he tries putting your helmet on and
gets the photo, which gets sent to me.
Yes, it got.
I'm already at the racetrack.
Yeah. And it like peeled down his ears and it was so painful. And then as he's trying to get it off, he's like, how does Charlie put his head in this? It peeled back my eyelids. And that photo will live on forever. And that was probably my favorite precise moment of the weekend.
My favorite precise moment was watching, I believe it was under yellow. They were showing some of the celebrities around the racetrack.
Oh, yeah.
And I am a big Point Break, Matrix, and now John Wick fan. Therefore, a huge Keanu Reeves fan. And I was like, oh, Keanu Reeves. And then I notice this person behind him and my longtime teammate, longtime team member, associate, really great friend, a friend of ours, KJ, who we didn't expect and told us she was not going to be at the racetrack.
We texted her. We took her avocados to her husband in the Prema garage
so that
because
they
weren't going to see her
on race weekend. And sure enough, in the back of the shot with Mr. John Wick, Keanu Reeves, is KJ. And
my phone blows up instantly.
Wait, is she there? Who? Yeah. Like all our family, all our friends. She was such a part of the Charlie Kimball team for so long and is still such a great friend. The fact that we got to connect with her and literally ugly cry together about life, and
all three of us just ugly cried.
It was
actually, she's the reason we call it the ugly cry.
This is true. She coined it that. She's doing amazing things with the Las Vegas Grand Prix. It was so great to connect with her. So to me, that was that favorite moment. It was like in a sea of 350,000 people, I saw her, and then we were able to connect because of that.
Yeah.
So I hope everyone enjoyed the 109th running the Indianapolis 500. It is no rest for the weary. Mechanics turning cars, drivers getting some rest. Alex Palou is not getting some rest. My favorite banquet speech was Scott Dixon. Classic, timely, always on point. Said, I want to congratulate Alex Palou on winning the Indianapolis 500 as a prize and as a reward for that success. I have gotten you and your family an all expenses paid 5-week summer vacation. Everything's paid for: food, drink, lodging, private airplane to get there. Starts this Thursday, the Thursday of Detroit weekend, and goes until the next weekend off. I don't think Alex Palou will be doing that, but he will not have had any sleep when he gets to Detroit. No. And I still think he could win this weekend.
Yeah. We will maybe get this done Sunday night, maybe Monday morning for Detroit, and talk about everything. We saw Will Power in the airport on our way out of town, and I have a good feeling about him. I don't know why.
I like that. Yeah. I think Scott McLaughlin bounces back. I think Alex Rossi ends up with a top 5 for Ed Carpenter Racing.
I agree.
Street circuits, maybe not their strongest suit, but
they did well at Long Beach.
Yep, and Alex knows how to get his elbows up and can be a street fighter. Yep. So we will see everyone after Motown.